OAO, my name is Joel Gandara, and thanks for joining me on this mentor session. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you a quick little bit about me. I'm going to give you a tip, and then we are going to jump into the questions that you guys have provided. So my name is Joel Gandara. I own a dozen, 12 e-commerce sites, as well as a wholesale business, and I own multiple brands. I own a fulfillment center, and I started all that with nothing and no coach and no mentoring. So I did a lot of things the wrong way until I figured it out. And I'm still figuring it out. And I think we all continue to figure it out forever. Let's see, I also invest in real estate, I invest in businesses, and all that sounds like I'm very busy. To boot, I'm married and have 4 kids too. And I work about an hour to 2 hours, max 3 hours a day. So I figured some things out and it's helped me be able to grow and continue to grow and look for more opportunities. So that's who I am. I want to share something else with you. Here's a tip. This week, it's a recurring theme that I've continued to see with people that I coach, and I especially find it with newer entrepreneurs or people who have not been coached in proper mindset. And I know this sounds so simple, but you wouldn't believe how people don't do it. And maybe you're one of them. You got to think positively. I've asked so many people, why don't you do this in your business? Or why don't you do this in your life? Or why haven't you spoken to this person about this? And the answer is always this negative thing. And I have assumed incorrectly when they're telling me this, oh, okay, so you've already talked to them, you've already tried that, it didn't work. And the answer is almost always, oh, no, I haven't tried it yet. I just think that's what's going to happen. And that just blows me away. You can't think like that. You can't think, well, yeah, if I do that, that probably won't work. You got to try it, or at least you got to talk to a lot of people. And I don't mean your friends and family, I mean the people who you want to be like and the people who have done it. So I could give a bunch of examples, but just this week alone, I'm coaching someone in their career. I'll give you this one example in their career, and they already set it in their mind that the pay of this job, which is a job of a lifetime, which I happen to have connected them with that person, and it's their dream job. This person's 40 something years old, and it's their absolute dream job. And they had a phone call with me telling me, I don't think it's going to work. The pay, yes, it's the job I've always wanted, and I think I could thrive here and make a career out of this, but the pay and blah, blah, blah. So I assumed that because they continue to say that the pay wasn't good, that they were made an offer and it was too low. So about 10 minutes into the phone call, I say, well, you can go back to them and talk to them about that offer that they made you. And if it's not the right thing, but don't just walk away. They were about to say, you know what, it's not going to work out. And that's when the person stopped me and said, well, they haven't made an offer yet. It's just in the first interview, they mentioned pay about roughly, rough numbers. So I said, they haven't made you the offer yet? And you had me on the phone for the last 10 minutes telling me all the problems about this. You haven't even gotten an offer yet. Well, guess what? I told her to think positively and wait for the offer and go through the steps. And I got a call yesterday saying that she got the job offer and it's for what she was expecting to get at a high level. So she's super happy and thrilled, and invited me to coffee tomorrow. And I can't believe that she had that closed mindset. Now she's realizing it. She's seeing that that's not the way she should have been thinking about it. Okay, so that's a tip for this session. Let's jump into the questions. The first one is from Daphne Eastman. And the question that she sent to Sean is, hi, Sean, currently working on my hair care brand, and I am at a stage where I have to brand the actual business. By the way, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but could mean a lot of things. Having a limited budget, I was wondering if it was a good idea to invest in the branding through agencies or bootstrap the business and adapt as I go. I know that my only chance to stand out and differentiate myself is through a strong brand slash marketing strategy, but I also want to be strategic in my spending. Daphne, I was in that exact situation. I could not afford any agency, any outside help when I first started out. I had to do everything myself. I had to go from having the vision to being the implementer, slash COO, to being the person who did all the work, to being the person who took out the waste basket and the trash and all that stuff. My suggestion, you said it there, you're limited on money. You have a limited budget. and you spend in a very limited way and get the most that you can out of your own efforts. And if that means 12-hour days, if that means 16-hour days, that's what you do, but you save that money. My philosophy is that you spend money when you have to spend it, when you're up against a wall and there's no other choice. And then that helps you, at least having that filter in mind helps you think that, well, I have X amount of dollars. Do I go spend it? No, just hold on, do as much as you can, learn as much as you can, practice as much as you can. Because if you hire an agency to do whatever it is that you want them to do in that branding world, at least if you've given it a go and you've tried it, you'll have a little bit more education and you'll be able to manage an agency better if you've been through some of those steps. But to go from zero to letting an agency guide you is a little bit risky, and it's going to definitely be more expensive to start out that way. Let's see. Next question is from Heather Brockman. Um, so I've met Heather, and she runs a pet salon, uh, grooming pets. So here's a question. I think I'm at the point that I want to start offering my company as a business opportunity. What are some of the steps I need to take, or where does one even start to branch off into different types of expansion like this? When I read this question, I immediately figured, well, does she mean franchising? So when I get these questions, it comes with the name and the email on there. I emailed Heather and she wrote right back. And I just said, do you mean franchising? And she said, not quite. That's a very expensive model. That's true. To set up a franchise is an investment. So she indicated she's just trying to think outside the box and thinking maybe of having someone pay to use her processes, right? So she's figured out some processes that work really well, and she's looking to do that. You know, there's something really important that comes from experience share. And it's not that your mentor or that your coach has to have done all of these things, but it's good when they know people that they can put you in touch with. In this situation, I have a friend um, who's franchised businesses. I think he's been on both sides. He's now franchising out his business. So once, even if you're not looking exactly to franchise, someone who's been through that world has probably got some good ideas and has some good warnings, right, to avoid the mistakes that they've made. Um, I've never franchised, either franchised out a business or franchised a business like a McDonald's or anything like that. So I specifically wouldn't be the person to give you, technical advice on this, but this is a process that even if a person to initially get that conversation started, this would kind of be a back and forth, Heather. What do you want to do? What kind of services do you have? Why would someone pay for for your processes? How much better are they? And how do you get them to continue paying you for these processes? Because that's the funny thing about education. If you go to college and you learn something, you don't pay that professor for life. You paid it, you learned it, now you go and develop it yourself. So if someone goes into your business and sees how you do it, what's sticky enough there to get them to keep paying you for life or for the time that they have that business? That's kind of some of the stuff to figure out and see how you can package that and hopefully make some money off of it. All right, next question comes from Lloyd Brown, and he says, hello, mentors, and thank you for taking the time for my question. I'm launching my side business e-commerce store for my artwork. I already have an LLC for my moving company. How do I umbrella this new business underneath my current LLC? Or should I just create a separate one altogether? Well, I'm not the person, and most people want to be careful when giving you legal advice. I'll tell you what I've done. You can talk to an accountant or an attorney to make sure it's legit. Um, I have multiple LLCs and S corps. I honestly don't even know how many because I'll have them to hold brands. So I own brands and I keep them in this LLC in a pocket by themselves, and it doesn't do transactions with the outside world. So nobody can ever sue me or touch these brands, right? That's just to protect myself. And then I'll license the use of those brands to my corporations here that might do business with people. And then you can, I haven't been sued, I haven't had problems like that, but if ever someone sues one of our brands for something or sues a business, they can sue the business that operates, but the brands are over here separately and they'll invoice every year a licensing fee to my business for use of those brands. So at least the brands are completely protected. Um, So again, you can talk to a professional about this, but I'll have sometimes an LLC here that owns everything, and that will include an LLC down here, which could have a partnership where we then this LLC of mine owns another business together with another business over there, and we together own this middle one. Um, and so the way we set it up is if the main company, the parent company, in my case, it's Morrow Capital, it will own the shares of this other LLC. So you can do this multiple ways. If you want to, the moving company for you, let's say it's called Lloyd's Moving and it's here. Lloyd's Moving can now own all the shares of the LLC you set up down here. Another thing, if you don't want to spend too much money and form an LLC and go all out like this, think about maybe just doing a fictitious name, a DBA, doing business as, especially in the beginning. If you're just trying to get things going and you don't want to spend a lot of money on an LLC, I know setting one up might cost you a couple thousand or maybe a few hundred online. So if you're just starting out and you're not sure, you can keep things really simple. I have DBAs for certain businesses of mine that are just something that need to be kept simple. So you can go through your state's website. In Florida, it's sunbiz.org, so that's the one I know here. And you file a fictitious name statement. You get it within a few hours, and you provide it to your bank. And now they connect that. So your moving company will have a fictitious name statement. It owns it. It's the registered agent, I think, on it, but it'll be called, artwork or whatever that side business is, right? And then once you show that to your bank, payments can come in through the artwork business, but they'll go to the moving company bank account. Obviously, you're going to want to have separate set of books, QuickBooks, or just an Excel in the beginning if it's simple enough. You don't have to go and overspend on that. But that's it. That's some of the way that I practice it, and I check that through my accountant and my attorney when necessary, and that's the way we've set it up. So there's some ideas. All right, next one is from David Fitzmaurice. His question is, I am looking for advice on finding a good supplier on Alibaba or how to deal with suppliers better. I have found a supplier. The quality of his products are excellent, but he's very slow with delivery and keeps lying to me about the delivery time. Okay, so David, I hope you realize when people make mistakes in business, in personal relationships, and all of these things, when it's all said and done and they've been burned, and you ask them, did you ever see any signs that things were going to go bad? You had this spouse for 5 years and it turned out to be a nightmare divorce. Did you ever see any signs? Usually things don't happen by chance, just all of a sudden. You can usually see the signs if you stop and examine it and think about it with a clear, open mind. So there's a difference between delivery times being delayed for whatever reason and a good explanation. I deal with this in my businesses. And there's another one about lying. You said this person is lying to you. Do you want to do business with someone that's lied to you once? To me, you tell me how you do anything, and I'll tell you how you do everything. I don't work with liars. If you lie to me once, it's over. And this is early on. You're already seeing a supplier. Great. His quality is excellent. So what? There's a million good quality factories. There's over a million factories. Um, I I've had some luck on Alibaba. We manufacture some things through people we met on Alibaba. But to be honest, everything for me is always about relationships. When I'm looking for a, a factory or a supplier or something or ideas on something, I don't just I might start with a Google search just to get my head around what the thing is and what options are out there, and then I go to my network of experts, and those are relationships that I've been building for 20 something years, and I can reach out to a few people who I know are experts at something. So that's a better way to go about it. It's a safer way because on Alibaba, here's a perfect example. David, you're in the clothing business. I have a nephew who was at the time maybe 19 or 20, and I gave him some advice on how to find a factory. I put him in touch with some that I know that are 100% trusted, who I buy millions of dollars from, and who I know will take perfect care of him. And he didn't listen to me, and he went on Alibaba and he wired $5,000 to Pakistan, and that was the last time he heard from the supplier. So you got to be very careful. You don't, there's enough risk in business that you don't have to go do blind introductions to people who you don't know. You wire them the money and they could be gone. It might work out, but what's safer and what's going to be better for you? Is it to go to strangers and depend your business on that, or is it to go through relationships? There's a reason relationships are so important. It's because people build these, they put decades into it, and then that person that they introduce you to is probably not going to let you down because there's a lot riding on it. All right, next question is from Vinko Mialjevic. I hope I said it right. All right, his question is, Dear mentors, my goal is to build an online community and be the middleman slash platform between trainers and students slash clients. Aspiration is to sell the service to the wealthy markets like in the USA, but I'm in Europe, Croatia. Do you think it's better to start the business in the Croatian market where I know the language and the culture, or go straight to the US market? I have much more connections here also, meaning Croatia. Uh, the balanced decision would be to target the domestic market, but to use English language. I'm interested in your thoughts. So that's interesting that you're looking at potentially going to the local market in Croatia, but doing it in English. So I'll assume that your market highly speaks English. A lot of them are English speaking, so that's good. My approach, and I'd have a series of questions to dig in deeper before I really could make an informed recommendation, Vinko. But my thought is if you know your market, you know your culture, you know your language, you know the nuances, the slang, you're going to connect way better there than coming to the US blindly, right? Um, there's a lot about US culture that if you're not here, you may not completely understand it. And you see this with branding. You can buy a product from China, and you get the instructions. It's all in Chinese, just as an example. Or you buy something from Latin America, and it doesn't hit the mark. It's not expressed properly. It's like me trying to go to Croatia right now, even if I spoke the language, and trying to hit that market perfectly. I'd probably go to you and get your help on that. So if you're going to go at it alone, that's a little difficult. If you had a partner or somebody already in the US market that could help out, that makes sense. But, what's wrong with trying it where you are, get some experience, get some money going, and then taking it to the US, which obviously is a much bigger market, over 300 million population and a lot of uh, ability to spend on what you're looking to sell. But I would sharpen your skills in a smaller market with less risk, even if the reward is much lower. Think of it as practice, as schooling, as the minor leagues before you go on to a big market. All right, the next one is from Dylan Burns, who I had the pleasure of meeting as well last week at the AO event in Tennessee. All right, so fortunately, in my conversation over lunch with him, he mentioned a little bit about this, so I have some insight. Here's his question. I've decided to completely shift our revenue model for summer camp coming up in the final week of July. Most of the school district that I'm partnered with is considered underserved, low income, single income households, and that's 33,000 homes. That is a large market, Dylan. So I've shifted to a more progressive model of crowdfunding. Essentially, but by way of sponsorship from local businesses. I partnered with my local Chamber of Commerce and have a list of 6,400 local businesses that I'm reaching out to and asking for their help to sponsor at least one child for the camp. This is equal to $250. I've created an email script to send, and I'm also calling, but have actually started to consider hiring a salesperson to do the calling for me for a few weeks. Let's see, if not all the way up until you start taking admission, are these the best ways to going about this? I think the salesperson is a great idea to free up time, but I also want to be fiscally responsible due to current revenue. So Dylan is in the workout business, exercise, those sort of things. So I feel for those folks who are in that business right now with COVID. A lot of gyms have closed, a lot of exercise and camps and things like that have been hurt. So let's think about this. Nothing that you said here is bad. You have an email list, fantastic. Emailing them, great. Put it in MailChimp or one of these inexpensive email marketing services. and hit them all up. It's not going to be one email. You got to continue to hit them a little bit. And then you calling on the phone, fantastic. The only problem that I see here, Dylan, the only weakness, and it's kind of a common theme because I mentioned this moments ago, is anybody can email. It's easy to get people's emails. There's software out there. You can buy a list. You can do all of that. What's that email going to do? Is it going to move you? If I get that email and I don't know you, big deal. I get asked for money every single day. I have to say no to 99% of those, and I plan that well in advance of where my money's going to go so that I don't get caught up in emotion or last minute thinking. So an email from a stranger, not too powerful, but easy to do and easy to reach those 6,400 people by hitting send. Create the creative, put it together and send it. Um, Calling is very slow and very boring. So you got to be willing to dial for hours a day to make an impact, but it is more meaningful than an email. Now, combining the two, even better. Just like knocking on doors is even better, but you can only knock on, I don't know, 40 doors a day because it takes a time to do all of that. Hiring a person, absolutely. I'm always for hiring someone to do the work that you don't want to do and that you are probably not the best suited for it because you might be the best at it, but you're up here, you're the CEO, you have to think this way. If you're on the phone all day, you're probably not thinking big picture. If there is no alternative, then you are that person, right? If you don't have an assistant, you're the assistant. If you don't have the money for it, then you got to do all the work and you got to work 12 hours, 16 hours a day. But so here's the part about the common theme. To me, it's about relationships. Some of the places that I donate money to are because my friends operate that charity or they're a big proponent of it or they're on the board of that charity. So your biggest help is the people that are as high level, high reaching as you can get who would fight for you. Right. So an example, I have a great relationship with the president of my bank. I used to rent him his house. I own the house and he used to rent it from me. And so he convinced me to move over to his bank years ago and we have a great relationship. So every year he hits me up for a charity and every year I send money because we have a great relationship. We've gone to events together and gotten to know each other. So this is the reason to have those relationships. If you don't have them, it's too late for this time. But this should be the fire lit under one that moves you to build relationships because imagine this conversation if you've spent the last 15 years building up amazing relationships. Now you have all these foot soldiers. All these amazing people are going to go out and hit everybody up for you and say, hey, my friend Dylan has an amazing, by the way, what you're doing is fantastic. You're going to help all these kids. It's $250. What company wouldn't say, yeah, sure, I'll sponsor 10 kids for $2,500? So good business model, crowdfunding by going through these businesses is fantastic. Um, but again, you want to leverage your efforts and you do that by building relationships who can help you grow that. I hope you've done that because that's going to make this a lot easier. And that email is good. The phone calls are fantastic, but having people help you is good. All right, here's a question from Gabriel Suarez. Excuse me one moment. All right, I want to buy out a minority partner at one of the stores. We are bumping heads too much, and the 20% he owns of one of the stores is the only thing tying him and me to the company. To cut him loose, I need to buy him out. What are some things I should look at when I negotiate this? And what are some things I can do to minimize my expense and protect myself from a legal perspective? All right, Gabriel, for a moment, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to everyone other than Gabriel. This is why you have a shareholder agreement before you have a partner. Because see, Gabriel's worrying about how should I negotiate this? There is no negotiation. A shareholder agreement explains all of this. You don't start a baseball game without knowing the rules. Even in Major League Baseball, right before the game, the two managers meet at the plate, at home plate with the umpire, and they go over the ground rules for that stadium. So that stadium might have a crooked wall, or, it goes out farther, and they want to explain, well, if a ball goes there and gets stuck underneath, that's an automatic ground rule double. Or, whatever the dimensions are of that stadium, they'll discuss that real quick. All the other general rules of baseball are in a book, and the umpires know it all. So they don't have to discuss that. But they set up a book, they set up a rule. It probably costs you, I don't know, an extra $1,000 or $500 to get an attorney to draw up a generic shareholder agreement that you can change little bits and pieces of it, but it's the rule book. There is no negotiation. Here's how it works. You put in there, uh, one partner can buy out the other at any time if they want to. And here's how we evaluate it. You know, we'll evaluate the business based on, let's say, 2 or 3 times net profit for the year, and that's how we will calculate it. We'll go back 12 months or whatever it is, or the previous year, and we'll multiply that by 2, and that's the net profit times 2. That's the value of the business. That's just an example for a small business. You own 20% of that, or you, Gabriel, own 80. The other person owns 20, so you pay him 20% of that, and that's it. That's how simple this is. That's why a shareholder agreement, that's why a rule book before you start a game is so important. So, Gabriel, I would have open communication with this person. I would make sure they want to be bought out, that they want to get out. Um, I believe 2 people should be in a relationship because they both want to be there. Nobody should be there because it's uncomfortable. And I would find a way to have that conversation with that person, see what they want. That's another thing. Whenever you know what you want, so that doesn't matter. You already know it. It's hardwired inside of you. Find out what that person wants. Do they want to continue in this business? Do they want to own their own store? Do they figure out what motivates them and then offer them that? So if they want to get out, great. You guys are butting heads and it's not fun for either of you, express that. You know, this isn't fun and I don't want to ruin this relationship. I'd rather we each go our separate ways. I want to give you the fair valuation of what the business is. There are people who can evaluate your business for you, but I don't think my guess is you probably won't need to pay for that. You just need to come up with a valuation, share that with that person, and explain, hey, here's what I'm thinking. You know, I can buy you out for this and go from there. So I hope that helps. Reach out if you need further help with that. All right, next question is from Edward Morgan, and his question is, I only have a basic understanding of blockchain, so I would like to know how it could best be implemented to improve the operations of a Shopify-based e-commerce business, like the 2 that I run. My business is New Zealand-based with a largely domestic customer base, and my supply comes from China and Belgium. I run a B2B and B2C business models, and I'm essentially a middleman. Okay, well, Edward, that's cool that you're looking to use blockchain, but um, your question is you'd like to know how it could best be implemented to improve the operations. I'm not sure how blockchain improves the operations. I know it moves money. You know, it doesn't help with your processes of shipping and all these things. But so I'm gonna guess from this question, I'll try to read into it a little bit more. You are looking to receive payments through blockchain. I'm guessing. I don't know if that's through Bitcoin. I don't know. So yeah, I don't want to answer this because I don't understand enough of the question. Also, most people you talk to in business won't know about blockchain. They won't know enough about it. So I would look for the people who are really in this. I would look for a blockchain group on Facebook. I would start talking and making friends with people who are really into blockchain. If you reached out to your personal network, I mean, I know some people who are involved in it. If it was me, I would go to them and I'd say, hey, I want to learn about blockchain. Let me take you to coffee. Let me have a call with you. And tell you what I'm thinking of, and then you share from your experiences the ideas. You do that with a few people, and pretty soon you start forming a plan, and you start seeing if things are feasible. So that's my advice. Go after specifically those people who are experts in that arena. All right. Next question, also Edward Morgan. With my e-commerce business, one of the main issues I have with scaling is having ever increasing amounts of capital tied up in stock, which often leaves little to spend elsewhere in the business. Are there any ways to improve cash flow aside from selling more stock more quickly? Well, yeah, selling more stock more quickly is definitely the way to grow cash flow. Um, let's see. I will assume that you've already cut costs everywhere that you can. I will assume that you've already negotiated with all of your vendors to give you breaks on payments, on maybe on terms. You know, there's a cool calculator that, you know, that I've done in my businesses many times, and it shows how making tiny changes in your business end up making a big bottom line impact on net profit as well as on cash flow. So this calculator works this way. It's an Excel. You plug in all your personal, all your business financials, and then it has all the numbers here. And then you tweak numbers like, what if I raise my prices 1%? And you just put 1% here on pricing, on the pricing cell, and it shows what it does to your profit. It also affects cash flow because more money, it might not come faster, but 1% increased cost increases how much money is coming in, which is better for cash flow. And then you could play with things like, what if my account's payable? What if I could have an extra 15 days on that? And you put in 15 days, it shows the immediate impact that that does to your cash flow. But then you do something else. You say, what if my accounts receivable, I could collect those a little bit faster? In your case, Edward, obviously on B2C, you're collecting as fast as possible because it's when they buy. But on B2B, that's taking away credit terms, it's making them pay up front, things like that, and you move that faster. So let's say it's taking you 30 days to collect money from stores, and you can change that to 5 days. What does that do to cash flow? And it bumps it up. So once you do that type of exercise, it's amazing. So those are my things. You want money coming in faster, and you want money going out slower. And you said, it leaves little money to spend elsewhere in the business. So I would go further. If I was your coach, I would ask a lot of big questions there. So money on what else? What do you need? Because in my opinion, investing in stock is in products that are moving is the number one most important thing because you can't sell air. You have to sell products. You have to order intelligently, so you're not buying a year's supply of products if you can order 2 months worth and have more just-in-time inventory because that's better for cash flow. So a lot of questions there, but just do whatever you can to make the money come in faster from clients and leave slower to your vendors. Ask them for longer terms. Why not? Or they want to be paid on time. Well, then I'd like to get a 3% discount. Because money has a value and it's worth more today. So if I'm going to pay right now, I want to get a break on that. I've negotiated that with my vendors, and that's helped a lot. All right. Next question is another one from the earlier Ask David Fitzmaurice. Hello, my question today is about pricing. How do I price my products? Do I compare prices to my competitors? Do I go over my numbers and mark up a percentage of what I need to get paid to make a profit? Do I do something different to my competitors and add extra value, then extra price to my products? You were saying last time about finding out what my customer will pay for my items. So far, we have slightly higher prices than our competitors, but our most expensive is not budging, even with a lot of traffic coming to our store. I'm assuming by not budging, you mean they're not selling your most expensive items. Is this a sign that we are too high and I should lower them? Thanks for your help. Well, this is the common question that real estate agents get asked. The house isn't moving, and then the homeowner says, the homeowner says to the agent, "What are you doing to sell my house? How are you marketing it?" The marketing is the multiple listing service. That's it. They can say they're doing open houses and they're doing flyers. None of that is what really sells the house. It's putting it on the multiple listing service, right? So, and what sells when it's on the MLS? It's competition. It's whichever one is the best value, whichever one. So you've got a 5-bedroom house here and you've got a 5-bedroom house here, and they're in a similar neighborhood and they look similar, but this one's $800,000 and this one's $700,000. That $700,000 almost always will sell way before the 800. So it's a numbers game. What we've done, and you're in the clothing business, David, so am I, we have a common markup, which we apply. It used to be 5.5, and we had that for years. We take our cost and we multiply by 5.5, and that's what we took it to market at. We just raised it over the last 2 months. We've been slowly increasing prices on all of our products, and we're up to 5.8 now. So all new products that come in get marked up to 5.8. We obviously do promotions off of there, loyalty points that you earn, free shipping. We do a lot of stuff that actually gets that price much lower ultimately for the consumer to make it more competitive, but that's where we start. Now, there are, and this might be perfect with what you're asking, there are times where we will sell a very expensive item. For example, not underwear, not swimsuit, not a t-shirt, but maybe blue jeans, expensive designer blue jeans that we'll make under one of our brands, and we're not going to sell that for 5.8 times. We're not crazy. Nobody's going to pay us that. So we might do 3 times. So in the end, you look at it as total dollars. So you might be selling this cup for $4, right? You bought it for $1 and you're happy with that 4 times. But when you go sell this chair and you bought it for 200, Well, you can't have that same markup because you got to realize you're in a market and you're in a competitive market. So I look at it as total dollars. We've got to, we'll make $3 profit off this little thing, and we can sell a lot of them. This chair, it's not as easy to sell them, but if we can make a couple $100, even if it's not in our, it stays in line with our desired markup, it's still fine. It's a few $100. You want to, this is $3, but this is a couple $100 of profit. You got to be realistic. You can't mark up everything exactly the same. So look at total profit dollars sometimes. And yeah, you can have all the metrics and all the calculations and everything you want, but when you go to market, the market is the most fair. I'm the most free trade, believer in the world because the market is fair. It's a vote from the entire civilization. All humans get to vote if you are good or not, and if they like you, they vote with their money, and every dollar is a vote. So you got to price it to where it makes sense to the client. If something isn't selling, you either are not showcasing it and putting it up on the site and emailing about it, or your price is too high, right? So the good thing is you can play with it. It's whether you have a physical store or an e-commerce website, you can play with pricing and you can play with emails that you send out to test what's going to work. All right. Next question is from Deanna Markel. I'm a licensed esthetician slash laser specialist, and I have 5 others working for me in my clinic, including a clinic manager. I want to stop working so much on patients and start working on things that will grow the business, and I need to delegate as much as I can to my clinic manager. I'm looking for ideas on how I could put together a list of all the things I want her to do and how to make sure she can report back to me on a daily or weekly basis. How did you put together a list of things you wanted someone like that to handle for you? And how do they keep you up to date? Do you use software, meetings, emails? I'm open to all ideas. Deanna, I love this question. Your realization that, yes, you're a licensed esthetician, laser specialist, but you're a business owner and you want to focus more on the business owner side is fantastic. So for starters, if I were you, would start with, I'm all about mindset. I would start the way I speak about myself. You are not a licensed esthetician, laser specialist. You're a business owner and you own a company and you employ 5 people in your clinic. So you're the owner of this business. You start talking like that and you'll start thinking like that. And guess what? Then you'll start acting that way. You should probably not be working on patients if you want to grow this business. If this is a lifestyle business and you're happy where you're at and it's never going to grow, keep doing what you're doing. But if you want to grow this and you want to have more clients and you want to have a second location and you just want to keep growing this business, you have to do what you're talking about. First of all, I'm a little confused. You have a clinic manager, but you're still doing the lowest of the totem pole work. So I don't understand. You're there doing the work, but then the manager's kind of managing. So I'm not sure there. Is that manager, what are they doing? What are their skill set? Are they the right person? Because see, I don't want to tell people what to do. I hire people who know what to do, and they tell me what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And then I give, obviously I'm the owner. I can stop them and say, well, wait a minute. Why do you want to do it that way? Don't you think that this, and this? Then we'll have those conversations. But I want a driven person managing my businesses. I want somebody who's telling me, look, this is what works best. This is how we should do this. This is what I'm thinking. And they come to me with all that. Now, I love being the visionary and having the ideas and just making a phone call and saying, hey, why don't you try this? And next week I find out it's working great or it didn't work. But that's the type of relationship that does really well. But sitting there working on clients is very hard to think creatively, to think growth. And as far as a list, I don't think you need help coming up with a list of what that person can do. And again, I'll question. And if we were talking face to face, I would ask you a lot of questions about that clinic manager because that person should be driving. You should be the visionary above, but that person should be growing the business and doing things, not just taking your orders. Having said that, let's see, something that came to mind here. Oh, that list. That list that you want, you know what it is. It's everything that you don't enjoy doing. You should not be doing anything that you don't enjoy doing. It's just like if I told you, hey, I want you to go be a finance person and you're not good at that. And I made you go to school to study it. How good would you be at doing finance? You'd be horrible. If your things, if you were just, you love pottery. And I said, well, then go do that. You'll become the best person at pottery because you love doing it. So You started this business to have freedom and to have money and to do whatever you want. So why are you doing the things that you don't think you should be doing? Do everything you like. When I look at my phone and I look at my calendar, every single thing that's in there is what I love to do. When I finish this call right now, this session, I am going to have coffee with a COO who runs a multi-million-dollar company, and he wants to get together, and he invited me to coffee. Probably turns into a lunch. So I'm doing that because that's what I want to do. I don't do anything that I don't want to do. On rare occasions, I'll have to do a function, but then I find how to delegate it if I hate it. And by the way, the things that you hate, there are people out there that love those things. You may hate sitting in front of a computer and being on Excel and loading in data, but guess what? There's someone out there in this world, there's a lot of them, who love doing that. You would be giving them the best job if you could give them that. And then that frees up your mind to do the things that you should do. So I would make a list of all the things that you hate to do. And I would pass those on to that clinic manager, to other employees. But again, I just want to push you on that. That clinic manager, that's a position that should be really making an impact on your business. I would see if that's the right person that you have in there. And there's a lot of tools, even if you've hired them already, there are tools out there, Culture Index, and things like that that can help you figure out if that's the right person for you. All right, we have, I think, one more question. And this is from Adam Komorowski. Has anyone bought a local list from a company? If so, what are key points to look for when dealing with companies that sell lists? Also, what email softwares did you or do you use, or is it just not worthwhile? Okay, so not a lot of data there because I don't know what this list is for. What are you going to use it for? Are you renting a list? You know, people will rent you a list. They will say, here, you can use these 10,000 emails, but then they're renting it to everybody else. Renting it meaning they're not giving you the emails. They're letting you send an email through their portal or however, and you reach these people, but they might be doing that with someone you knew every single day, and then that list isn't so valuable. So I have never rented a list of emails. I personally haven't seen a lot of value and from what I hear on that, but there are exceptions, I'm sure. But what I have done is acquired businesses in my space, and some of those we did it largely because of the emails. In fact, I think it was the second business I ever bought was a tiny purchase, less than $10,000. They weren't doing a lot, but they were in business for years and had a customer database. They were in Chicago, and we bought that business for a few $1,000s, and it's paid off multiple times. We've sold many times more than that since off that list. We just took that list, moved it into an existing business, and started emailing them because they were competitors, they were same products, and that worked out well for us. So that's a different way of looking at it. I would try, look, if somebody's trying to sell you a list, I would ask them and let them brag and tell you how great it is and how many customers they have who love it, and then I would ask for them to connect you to those customers so you can get their opinion. If they're not willing to do that, they can come up with 3 customers who are willing to do that to share whether they're happy with the service or not. Then they're probably just one and done transactional business, not doing a great job for people. All right, thanks for all the questions that you guys asked. I hope I can bring some value with my perspective on these, and if I could help out in any way, feel free to contact me. Again, it's Joel Gandara, and you can find me on joelgandara.com.